have power shortage? Hare Krishna. No problem. I thought everyone was sleeping out there or something. Hare Krishna. Who's this from? That's from Gurudev. Where's the mother? No. Gurudev Guru. Do you have a stream or not? That's all? Everyone good? You look worried. Are you worried? Well, knock at the wall. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Take shelter fully there. That will take away all the anxiety, all the uncertainty, and your unhappiness. You understand English?
Quite.
You do. How about you? Really? You speak English? I have a lot of heavy lifting tonight. I can already understand that. Heavy lifting. Are you going to help me? Or I have to do all the work? You'll just come and I'll do all the work, or you'll also participate? You'll carry some weight? No weight? It's all on me? Alright, at least he's honest. Shisha Gauri Thai, Jaya Prabhupada ki, Shri Guru Govinda Swami Shabda, Samaveda Bhaktavinda. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-katha Bhutale Srimate Govinda Swami Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-katha Bhutale Srimate Govinda Swami Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-katha Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swami Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiva Chaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Maharaj ki jai, Shri Srimad Govinda Swami Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj ki jai, Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj ki jai, Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki Shri Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Jamuna Mai ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulasi Maharani ki Shri Shri Gauri Thai ki Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki Shri Jagannath Baladev Lady Subhadra Devis ki Shri Radha Gopinath ki Shri Radha Gopal ki Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Premanam Sankirtan Jagya ki Gora Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Jagannath Baladev Lady Subhadra Devis ki. We're going to read another verse tonight from Bhagavad Gita, as it is. You ready?
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Number 16. 5:16. We'll stop there. Please repeat. Jnanena tu tat jnanam jesam nashchitam atmana tesham adityavat jnanam prakashati tatparam jnanena tu tat ajnanam jnanena tu tat ajnanam yesham nashchitam atmana tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam jnanena by knowledge. Tu but tat that ajnanam nescience yesham whose nashchitam is destroyed atmana of the living entity tesham there aditya but like the rising sun jnanam knowledge prakashati discloses Tatparam Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna preaching to Arjuna and through Arjuna to the rest of mankind. And he said, when however one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience or ignorance is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Please repeat. When however one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything. As the sun lights up everything in the daytime. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience or ignorance is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered. But those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Plavena Jnanagni Sarvakamani and Nahi Jnanena Saddrisham. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna. And it is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, then he actually falls into the last snare of Maya, or nescience. And does God become bewildered by nescience or ignorance? If so, then nescience or Satan would be greater than God. So real knowledge can be obtained only from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, all ignorance, all darkness, just as the sun drives away the darkness. So even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, that is transcendental to the body, they still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he takes care to take shelter of the perfect, bona fide, Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one can know one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a true representative of God. A representative of God, he never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect that is ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity, between the Paramatma and the Atma. Shri Krishna therefore states in the second chapter, 2:12, that every living being is an individual, and that the Lord is also individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at the present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness. But in the daytime, when the sun comes up, then we see everything in its real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Om Jnana Tamaranda Shalakaram Jana Shalakaya Chakshana Kanjana Tasma Shri Murali. So conditioned soul, Prabhupada says, they don't know what to do, what not to do, because they have big false ego, which makes it like a big cloud. So it's very difficult to understand and see everything in the proper light. That's why it says that we're deaf, dumb, and blind, groping in the dark. Prabhupada says the living entity doesn't know, conditioned soul, really what is best for them. We think we know what is best for us. We think better than anyone else we know what is best for us. But Krishna, He's seed-giving Father. He knows the past, the present, and the future. And He knows what is best for every living entity. He's perfect knowledge, past, present, and future, and His plan is always perfect plan, which is always in every living entity's best interest, whether we can understand it or not. If one gets mercy of Krishna, and He purifies mind and senses, gives us enough intelligence to find bona fide Guru, then we hear by the mercy of Krishna one gets a Guru. By the mercy of the Guru, one then qualifies himself to understand how to get Krishna. So Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like the darkness, and if we are just addicted to mental speculation under modes of nature, under false ego, then we are simply speculating in Maya, for Maya, directed by Maya. That is all materialistic. It's all type of nescience or ignorance. I remember one time I said to my sister, I said, you know, she was giving so many, not behaving properly. I said, you see, you have so much ignorance. So she became like very offended. How you can call me ignorant? I said, no, you're misunderstanding me. You're trying to understand about the spiritual life, but you just have too much ignorance, no experience, no understanding, no knowledge to really truly understand it. So unless we get mercy from Krishna and Krishna's devotee, unless they purify our mind and senses, Krishna says to show special mercy, then I, dwelling as the Lord within the heart, I destroy all of the Tama, all of the darkness with the shining lamp of knowledge. So without Krishna's mercy, nobody can realize that they are a soul. And without the Guru's mercy, also, we cannot understand how to more and more purify ourselves of this type of ignorance. So Prabhupada is saying that those who are forgetting Krishna, Krishna says, if you want to forget me, I'll make you to forget me. If you want to remember me, I'll make you remember me. I'll give you intelligence, I'll purify the ignorance, I'll wake up your soul and make you realize, yes, I'm eternal servant of Krishna, I should serve Krishna. If one gets Krishna's mercy, then one will come to this knowledge and surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada says here, after passing through many, many births and many, many species of life, when one gets perfect knowledge of the Lord and our position and relationship, God is great, we are small, He is the master, we are the servant. When one gets that perfect knowledge by the mercy of Krishna, one will then surrender to Krishna. Or, Prabhupada says, when one attains Krishna consciousness, when Krishna reveals Himself, just like the sunshine, then everything knowable can become known. So Krishna said to Arjuna, because you're my friend, because you're my devotee, because you're not envious of me, then I'll explain everything to you. Everything of material world, everything from spiritual world, nothing will be left out. So Prabhupada says perfect knowledge will come, will be achieved when one surrenders to Krishna. Because if we surrender to Krishna, you see, Arjuna first he surrendered to Krishna. Then he got the perfect knowledge, then he got the understanding, then he overcame his doubts, then Krishna answered all of his questions. But he had enough intelligence and faith to understand, I should just surrender to God, I should surrender to Krishna. How and where He directs me, how He takes me, where He takes me, what is that knowledge that will be revealed to me, that will come later. Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders to Krishna. That's the first requirement. Krishna knew everything, but Arjuna not surrendering. So Krishna not saying anything. Then when Arjuna couldn't solve anything, and he was very weak, materially, spiritually, fed up, Prabhupada said when you're exhausted materially, and frustrated, and you're ultimately disgusted, this is very great impetus to surrender to Krishna. So when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, like they said, you become exhausted, frustrated, disgusted. You give up all hope in being servant of Maya. You realize it's not a bright future. Then you'll surrender to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna. When one surrenders to Krishna, Prabhupada said, then everything will be revealed to him. Just like the sun in the daytime. So living entities under Maya, under false ego, under bodily conception of life, addicted to mental speculation, they're bewildered in so many different ways. So real knowledge can come once one surrenders to Krishna, means surrender to Guru. Right? He said, now I'm soul surrendered unto you, I'm accepting you as my spiritual master. Now please instruct me. Please help me. Prabhupada said that real knowledge can be obtained only from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Now everybody's saying Krishna, 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 Krishna. Many preachers, many teachers, many gurus. So how can a conditioned soul know who is in perfect Krishna consciousness? Because everyone's posing like they're in perfect Krishna consciousness. I'm a guru, I'm a teacher, I'm a preacher. And everybody's saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So I asked my guru, Srila Govinda Swami, Gurudev, how can a conditioned soul who is contaminated under false ego, under material modes of nature, how can they know who is a realized soul, who is in perfect Krishna consciousness, versus someone who just theoretically is saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So how do you know if it's theoretical that this person is speaking, or whether he practically realized? How can a conditioned soul know the difference? Because it looks, externally, it looks very similar. Isn't it? So my Gurudev said, it cannot be theoretical. In other words, if they're only theoretically saying, then there'll be no effect after hearing from them. There'll be no change of consciousness, you'll not realize your soul, you'll not think to surrender to Krishna, you'll not have confidence that by surrendering to Krishna everything will be solved, you'll not get sufficient faith, you'll not get your answers properly, or your questions properly answered, you'll not get your doubts destroyed. In other words, there'll be no tangible, practical result if it's theoretical. Because they're also just speculating. It's not real. Krishna will not manifest if it is just theoretical. If it's just jnana, that's also on bodily platform, mental platform, sentimental platform. This must come on the soul platform. So unless one is realized in Krishna consciousness, Tattva Vijnanam, Prabhupada says, means realized scientific, factual knowledge about the absolute truth. Krishna says, whoever can know, understand how and where I'm manifesting and for what purpose, then when they leave this body, they go back to Godhead. And they never come back down again into the material world. So Prabhupada said, this is the perfection of spiritual life. This is the perfection that we're talking about. One who understands and can realize how and where Krishna is manifesting and whom he is speaking through, wherever he's manifesting, directly, indirectly, in unlimited forms, how and where he's manifesting, why he's manifesting, and how he's speaking the same absolute truth, according to Guru Sadhu and Shastra. That person will go back to Godhead and never return here. Prabhupada said that's perfection of religion. So if we understand, okay, I'm conditioned soul, I have imperfect mind and senses, I'm still a material consciousness, I still have material desires, I still have material attachments, still no real qualification, but somehow or other, we really want to surrender to Krishna. So self-realization also means to totally understand the reality of your situation. Okay, my soul is in this body with this crazy mind, with uncontrolled mind and senses, so much sinful activity, so much sinful reaction, all of that is there. But in spite of that, we want to surrender, take shelter of Krishna. And then that soul cries to Krishna. Then Krishna, Prabhupada says, Krishna's first installment of mercy, he'll send you a bona fide spiritual master. So without sincerity and seriousness, in spite of our disqualification, to want to fully surrender to Krishna, and understand Krishna, and go to Krishna, and get Krishna, and serve Krishna, unless that's our real, sincere, serious desire, then Krishna will not send you a bona fide guru. But sincerity, he says, sincerity and seriousness to surrender to Krishna is prerequisite requirement for Krishna to send you a bona fide guru. So if one sincerely, seriously wants to surrender to Krishna, then Krishna will send us a bona fide guru. Either we'll go to that guru, or that guru will come to us somehow or other. Krishna will make that arrangement and then give you intelligence and faith that you should, I made this arrangement, you should surrender to this person. Prabhupada says Krishna will dictate, Chaitanya Guru Paramatma will dictate to you that you should surrender and accept this person as your spiritual master. Then Prabhupada says, this is my Gurudev's garland, so I have to keep that on me.
Both of them, Gurudev, both of them.
Huh?
Both of them are.
Acha. One or two, it's all good. It's all perfect. But it's a little heavy. So, Hare Krishna. So, real knowledge means to understand Krishna in three ways: Bhagavan, Paramatma, Brahman. All the three, how do you say, factors, huh? Or facets of the Absolute Truth. Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paramatma, localized, the Lord within the heart. And Brahman means Lord's energies. So one who understands that there's no truth superior to Krishna, and Krishna is within the heart of every living entity, and the source of all the material and spiritual worlds, that everything is emanating from him, and he is the controller of his energies. And one who understands the soul, the self, Atma, is that every soul is eternal servant of God. We are eternal, we have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. That connection between Krishna and the living entity, that relationship called Sambandha Gyan, that connection is made through the agency of Krishna's representative bona fide guru. So when Krishna sends you a bona fide guru, and you surrender to that guru, then now you're getting two mercy. Mercy from Krishna, mercy from the spiritual master. Then it's explained, then that means Krishna has accepted you. That is the start. Sambandha Gyan. You realize I'm eternal servant of Krishna. Gurudev is sent by Krishna, engaging me in Krishna's seva. My relationship with Krishna is based on loving service. And that service that Krishna wants us to engage in, we are receiving that information through pure via medium of spiritual master. That's a Sambandha Gyan, knowledge and connection and eternal loving relationship with Krishna. That can only be established by Krishna's representative, bona fide spiritual master. So Prabhupada says here, the real knowledge can be obtained only from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. So if one does not have unflinching faith in Krishna and in the Guru, then he's not in the perfect Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna not revealing inside and not revealing outside. So when one can understand by Krishna's mercy internally as Chaitanya Guru, Paramatma, and externally in the form of bona fide Guru, spiritual master, and to the Shastra, that those words from Krishna through the Shastra is absolute perfect knowledge from the perfect source. So one who has unflinching faith in Krishna and Guru, the Sadhu, Shastra, That is perfection that Prabhupada is talking about. So Prabhupada said, in the material world, there's so many faults are there. Even Prabhupada said, I have fault, you have fault, everybody has a fault. But if I present to you perfect knowledge from a perfect source, and I present it to you perfectly, without adding or subtracting anything, Prabhupada said, that is my perfection. So one who has heard perfectly, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, perfect knowledge from perfect source, your knowledge will be perfect. And if you present that knowledge with realization, not theoretically, but with faith, unflinching faith, and your words are empowered from Krishna and Krishna's representative, Krishna Parampara, only then will we even get purified in our consciousness, will our soul wake up, will spiritual intelligence come to us. Therefore, Prabhupada says, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master. And under him, must hear from him and learn what actually is Krishna consciousness. For Krishna consciousness will drive away all the nescience. Just as the sun drives away the darkness. So if we hear from Krishna, through Krishna Parampara and the Shastra, the effect will be that all of the ignorance, all of the darkness, all of the inauspiciousness, all of the fear, all of the anxiety, all of the disturbance, whatever is bothering you, by mercy of Guru and Krishna, will be eliminated from you. That's how, my Guru said, that's how you'll know whether that person is speaking theoretically or whether they're speaking authoritatively with realized knowledge, tattva vijnana. And of course, one must be empowered from Krishna, Mahaprabhu, and their parampara in order to have that effect. So, I was reading earlier about what happened? Where you going? You're making me nervous. Breathe deep. Breathe deep. There you go. Relax. Pray to Krishna. Please help me to understand everything. So Srila Prabhupada is talking in many places. What is the effects? What is the effects from proper hearing? And there's some very nice verses, mostly from Srimad Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's purport. Are you tired today? You're a little tired? Pray to Gwanitai. Please help me, let me wake up, give me some strength. That way I can nicely hear everything. Then you'll get some extra Shakti. Alright? I won't go too long. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in 11th canto, 3rd chapter, 31 translation, it says, the devotees of the Lord They're constantly discussing the glories of the Supreme Lord amongst themselves. And thus, by that hearing and chanting, glorifying and hearing about the Lord, they're constantly able to remember the Lord and also understanding His qualities and His activities, pastimes. In this way, those devotees, by their devotion to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, especially Shravanam, Kirtanam, they're able to please the Lord. So by your devotion and dedication to the hearing and chanting process, you're able to please the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Then He becomes so pleased, He takes away from them everything that is inauspicious. And being purified of all obstacles, all impediments, all sinful desires, all sinful reactions, the devotee ultimately, he awakens to pure love of Godhead. He develops Krishna Prema. And thus, even within this world, their spiritual bodies exhibit symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, such as bodily hairs standing on end. So by hearing and chanting, all the time when I meet the devotees, I said, okay, we're not big devotees. Okay, we're not big scholars. We're not big anything. We only have one job to do, is try to be as sincere as possible in front of Krishna and prove to Him how much we want to sincerely and seriously hear and chant about Krishna. That's our challenge. If we can be sincere enough in our speaking and in our hearing about Krishna, this will please Krishna. Actually, it says this will conquer Krishna. And Krishna will run to that place. And if Krishna manifests, if Krishna comes, if He runs to that place, He's like the sun, then all the darkness, all of the ignorance, all whatever's disturbing, everything will just be driven out. Just like the darkness. As soon as the sun comes up, in the middle of the day, darkness is completely gone. So this is Krishna's favor on those devotees who are dedicated and seriously trying their best to hear and chant about Krishna. If we're not sincere and serious in our speaking or in hearing about Krishna, we're wasting our time. You're wasting my time, I'm wasting your time. So we all have some responsibility. How sincere and serious are we in our hearing and in our chanting about Krishna? If it's not real, we cannot cheat Krishna. We cannot externally act like, oh yes, I'm speaking about Krishna, and yes, I'm dutifully listening to Krishna. That's not going to convince Krishna. So we have to be convinced, and we have to convince Krishna. In spite of every other problem, in spite of every other disqualification, because we're that needy. Without Krishna's mercy, we're lost. If He doesn't purify our mind and senses and give us a good guidance and instruction and a plan, we are lost. If we can understand that, then we'll be like baby crying for the mother. Please, Krishna, if you don't come, if you don't purify me, if you don't qualify me, if you don't direct me, guide me, I'm a lost soul. I have no idea how to do what to do. That's why it says, conditioned souls always bewildered and disturbed and disturbing. because of that anxiety. So that's a nice translation from 11th canto. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 9th chapter, text 11, purport 4.9.11. Are you listening?
Yes.
What are you doing? What's in your hands?
Nothing.
Nothing? Are you distracted? Huh? Ready to go anytime? I'm quoting authority. Don't you want to hear some authority? Don't you want to hear the authority like a lawyer?
Yes.
I'm backing it up.
Yes.
Otherwise, why you should listen to me? Right? So now I'm quoting authority. This is Krishna, this is Bhagavatam. Are you awake? Are you happy? You better be. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, a Mayavadi philosopher, he may question, oh, you may be very happy in association of your devotees, but what's your plan? How to cross over this ocean of material existence? This was questioned to Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj's answer is that that's not very difficult to cross over the ocean of material existence. That's not very difficult. He clearly says that this ocean of material existence can be crossed over very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Are we mad to hear the glories of the Lord? We're just mad. Mental speculation. We're just gone mad. But if you become mad to hear the glories of the Lord, Bhavad Guna-katha, for anyone who persistently and constantly engages in hearing and chanting the topics of the Lord from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and who is actually addicted to this process. Are we addicted to this process of hearing and chanting about the Lord? Are we mad for that? One who is actually addicted to this process, just as one becomes addicted to intoxicants. If you become mad for this, and you become addicted to this process of sadhu sangha and hearing and chanting about Krishna, then it is very easy to cross over the nescience, the ignorance, and the suffering of this material existence. This is the key. So we're not mad for hearing and chanting. We're not even attracted to it. What to speak of attached to it? What to speak of addicted to it? We're like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's hear some philosophy. Say something esoteric, it'll be, I'll get some stimulation. Right? On some intellectual platform. Not like that. Deva, are you addicted like to intoxicants, hearing and chanting about Krishna? Have you become mad for this, or you're just mad in general? Mostly the latter, right? Yeah. Okay. So you have to turn your madness to becoming addicted to hearing and chanting. You got to start somewhere, right? Robert said, you know, when you start drinking alcohol and somebody gives you some whiskey, it's like horrible, nasty, like gasoline, right? Petrol, right? But after a while, you're like, oh yes, let's have a nice scotch, right? Let's have a nice drink. So you have to develop that taste. In the beginning, you're like disgusted, spit it out. It's horrible, nasty. But as the years go on, even they say it's an acquired taste.
Yes, yes.
It's an acquired taste. So you have to start somewhere. So we have to find devotees. Who are the devotees who are most addicted to hearing and chanting about Krishna? Who's trying to please the Lord by hearing and chanting about Krishna to purify themselves? What to speak of anybody else? It says when you speak Krishna consciousness, you should be trying to purify your own consciousness. And then also help everybody else to purify their consciousness. So especially in the Dham, it's supposed to, why do people go to the Dham? Is because you're supposed to find sadhus who are addicted to hearing and chanting about Krishna. If you're in the Dham and you're just sitting in your flat, just relaxing, and just, oh, we're in the Dham. We're so fortunate we're in the Dham. And then we have no attraction to hearing and chanting about Krishna, but we're in the Dham. I have my t-shirt on, I lost my heart in Vrindavan. And then sadhu comes talking about Krishna and you're like, oh, forget it. I have no attraction for that. Isn't it? And then you say, you know, come, we'll hear when Maharaj is talking about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. No, I'm not interested. Right? So if we're not attracted and attached and addicted to hearing and chanting, it's complete Maya. Complete Maya. It said, didn't we read that verse in the last day or two? It says if you're doing all of this sadhana, all of this chanting, all of this seva, all of this activity, if you're doing all of that, and you don't have any attraction and attachment to hearing and chanting about Krishna in association of Krishna's devotees, you are simply wasting your time. It's completely useless, whatever you're doing. So if whatever we're doing is not making us mad and greedy and addicted to finding sadhu sangha, those persons who are seriously dedicated to hearing and chanting about Krishna, we're wasting our time. It's useless, whatever we think we're doing. That verse is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One who is actually addicted to this process of hearing and chanting, just like one becomes addicted to intoxicants, then it is very easy to cross over the nescience of the material existence. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17 it says Krishna, the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, He's in the heart, Super Soul, Paramatma. He's the benefactor of truthful devotee, those who are truth seekers. He cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge and the greed to hear his messages. So when Krishna sees this person is becoming greedy to hearing and chanting about me, then Krishna, he enters inside of you and he cleans up all of your sinful desires, sinful attachments, sinful reactions. This is His favor, this is His mercy, this is His grace. We cannot do that. But if someone tries sincerely to surrender to Krishna, to take shelter of the hearing and chanting process, Amara, who are you listening to right now? Angel. When he's in Maya, I'm going to call him Angel. Gangster. When he's listening to Mata Gauranga, right now he's Angel. He's in gangster mode. Yeah, he's in gangster mode. He's flashing signals. Huh? West Coast. But it must be properly heard and chanted. We're not hearing properly because we're listening to stupid mind. You have like an old Puerto Rican radio that has only one channel, right? It's like one channel, old Puerto Rican radio, you know? He goes outside, so he's just stuck on like oldies but moldies. Oldies but moldies. And he likes it. That's amazing. Oh yes, I've heard this song a million times. Oh, it's so nice this time. So Prabhupada says the messages of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, this discussion about Krishna and Krishna's instruction, those instructions are coming from Krishna, therefore they're non-different from Krishna. So if we're speaking about Krishna and hearing about Krishna, that's non-different from associating with Krishna. But if we're not properly speaking or hearing with faith, with consciousness, with eagerness, interest, we go, alright, whatever. Right? If someone wants to talk about you, right, you're trying to express yourself and they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Are you inspired to like reveal yourself? So, oh, let me tell you everything about myself. Yeah, okay, whatever. So, yeah, I'm busy right now. I get a phone call. We'll talk later, okay? That's what we're doing to Krishna. Right, I'm busy. I have other things to think about, other things to do, other things to plan, other topics. So it says that when one is offenseless, so we have to be offenseless in our hearing and our chanting. Wherever that offenseless hearing and chanting, glorification of the Lord is undertaken, it's understood in that offenseless hearing and chanting, it's understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. So it says Krishna will run to that place. He said, I'm not in Vaikuntha, I'm not in the heart of the mystic yogis, I'm in that place. I run to that place where my devotees are sincerely, offenselessly hearing and chanting about me. So bona fide Guru, he has ability to make Krishna appear. If the Guru, Sadhu Guru Vaishnava cannot make Krishna appear, then how will we be benefited? how will we see the effects of that hearing and chanting process? So that's why, unless one is empowered by Krishna, by Mahaprabhu, just like Prabhupada said, if you empower my words, if you enter into my words, into this transcendental sound vibration, and somehow or other that hits their ear and goes inside of them, then it will work. Otherwise, how will anything change? How will the consciousness change? Offenseless chanting and hearing about the Lord, Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful, non-different from the Lord personally. The Lord, He reciprocates and responds to His sincere devotees when He sees that the devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord. So if we are not completely sincere and serious about wanting to get admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord, and when He sees we've become eager, very eager to hear about Him, then the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back home, back to God with Him. So the Lord Krishna is more anxious to take us back into His kingdom than we can even desire. So it says, we take one step towards Krishna, He'll take 10 steps towards you. That's how merciful He is. Prabhupada says, the Lord is more anxious to take us back than we can even desire. Prabhupada says, most of us do not at all desire to go back to Godhead. That's an amazing statement. Everybody's saying, I'm Vaishnava, I'm devotee, I'm in the Dham. Of course I want to go back to Godhead. But why Prabhupada says, most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. And then if you say, well, why Prabhupada says like that? Because we're not following what Prabhupada's asking us to do. We're not understanding it properly, and neither we're following it properly. That is the proof. So we can say from the lips, of course I want to go back to Godhead. But then why we're not accepting the instructions? Why we're not taking it to heart? That's why it says hardly anybody is serious about it and desiring to go back home, back to Godhead. Only a very few persons want to go back to Godhead. This is Prabhupada, don't blame me. I'm not your judge. This is Prabhupada instruction. Very few people want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires somehow or other to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna will help you in all respects. So where is that association which will increase our desire to want to surrender to Krishna instead of Maya? Where is that association which will help us to increase our desire to want to go back to Godhead? We need that association, because without good association, we are not going to purify the material desires, the strength of the material desires, the material attachments. We'll not get free from that. Just like a thick ropes, an anchor. There's that analogy about the wedding party, right? They're all rowing the boat,
Yeah.
right? Through the whole night,
Yes.
right? Then the daylight comes and they're like, they didn't move like 1 inch. Because the rope and the anchors were stuck in the mud. So we're doing so much work, so much effort, so much sadhana, so much chanting, and not budging even 1 inch really. That's how attached we are. So just chanting Namaparad, going through the motions, acting mechanically, saying from the lips how serious we are, and of course we want to go back to Godhead, that's not going to do it. We need to find a sadhu. Sadhu means to cut. So if we don't hear cutting words, absolute truth, from bona fide empowered sadhu guru Vaishnava, there is no way to cut these ropes or uplift these deep anchors which are sunk in the mud. Therefore this boat, this human body is like a boat. This boat will not cross over that ocean. And my Gurudev said, although we're coming to give the highest thing, Krishna Prema, how many people are interested? And Gurudev said, very few. Just like here, Prabhupada said, very few people actually seriously want to go back to God. Very, very few. And then why they're not accepting? Why they're not doing? And Gurudev said, because Gurudev is too heavy. It's too heavy information. Too demanding, putting under discipline, chastising us, correcting us, directing us, trying to discipline us, control us, purify us. We don't like it. False ego doesn't like it. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says, start early when you're young, when you're a child, then it's easier. But we're like old dogs. Right? You have like old dog and you say, you have some cookie, you know, you're like, jump, jump. And the dog's like, come on. It's like, come on, jump, jump. Right? You get a new young little dog, he's got some spring in their step. Right? That guy is leaping up in the air, grabbing the cookie. We're like an old dog, we're like, oh, come on. Just give me the cookie. Just give me the cookie. I'm old. So it's very difficult. Right? They're so old, they're like, okay, forget the cookie. I don't even care anymore. So that's why Prahlad Maharaj says, start early. But what to do? We're late bloomers. We're blooming late. Hopefully blooming. So we need a lot of mercy. If you realize, Prabhupada said, if you actually realize what it's going to take for you to go back to Godhead, none of you would have joined, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada said, I had to little cheat you. And Prabhupada said, yes, come, chant, dance, take prasad, go back to Godhead. Wow, that sounds not so bad. Stay high forever. Oh, great, I love that. Stay high forever. That sounds fun. And then Prabhupada laughing, he said, then once you surrender, then you're in the process. Right? I remember thinking, you know, Chetodapanamarjanam, you know, just clean off the dust. That doesn't sound very difficult. You chant, the dust comes off, then you realize everything's spiritual. Then I'm like, so many years chanting, burning holes in my fingers. I'm saying, what kind of dust is this? That's not easily coming off. And my Gurudev said, dust? Baba, that's like Himalayan mountains. Thick, 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 thick layer, Baba. Like the Himalayan mountains. So without mercy of Krishna and Guru, it's impossible. Prabhupada said, you cannot purify yourself from all of this thing. All we can do somehow or other is be humble, cry for mercy, try our best to please them by putting faith in their words, trying to somehow execute the science as they asked us, based on hearing and chanting. Try to find some sincere devotees who want to hear and chant. Okay, no one's qualified. Okay, great. We have no background, no qualification, no adhikar, but we have Himalayan mountains of desires, attachments, sinful reactions. How's that going to get cleared out? You come to the Dham because you're supposed to do sadhu sangha, day and night. Right?
Yes.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Right? Prabhupada's whole program was morning and evening. Right? Even Prabhupada says Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means constantly. As much as possible. Because if we're not hearing this, we're hearing Maya. The moments we're hearing this, those are the moments we're not hearing Maya. So the more you dedicate to nice association and you're going to hear and chant so you can avoid Maya and purify your consciousness, to try to get rid of this contaminated material consciousness, that's the association we should seek, wherever that's available. And it must be effective. If you're showing up there again and again and again and it's not working, that means there's a problem. Either we're not qualified hearing, the person's not qualified speaking, but neither are qualified. Right? Prabhupada said the speaker must be qualified and authorized and empowered, but the hearer must be qualified. And here it's talking about that one is sincerely eager, greedy to take shelter of hearing and chanting about Krishna. We should become mad for that. But we're like, I don't know if I'm mad for it. My Gurudev used to say, just like the man works hard all week at the job, at the factory, and then it's Friday, end of the week. Thank God it's Friday. Then they're driving, they say, well, if I don't get to that club and that bar and have a drink anytime soon, I'm going to go mad. So in the same way, if I don't get and hear and chant like really soon, I'm going mad. We don't even realize that. We're like, I'm alright. I may hear, I may not hear. But perfect anxiety, anxiousness, eagerness to hear about Krishna, that's the qualification of the hearer. So we should ask, right? How eager are we? How greedy are we? How mad are we? How inquisitive are we? How much do we want to solve our problem are we? That's the hearer side. And if it's real enough and sincere enough and serious enough, then Krishna will send us proper association where Krishna will manifest in that katha. If one is engaged in hearing through self-realized devotee, then he will realize his real position. So the more you hear from bona fide Guru, the more your gross and subtle body will become purified and detached, move away from you. Then what is left? Your soul. So bona fide Guru, if you're hearing perfectly in perfect association, you will become detached from your gross and subtle body, and you will realize that you are a soul, an eternal servant of Krishna, and then you'll be able to directly hear Krishna through the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, through holy name. That's perfect hearing. So unless we hear perfectly from perfect source, our knowledge is still imperfect. We'll not even realize the true soul. So last translation, Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 12th chapter, 48th verse. It says, by offenseless hearing and chanting about the transcendental characteristics, pastimes of Bhagavan Sri Hari, the Supreme Lord Krishna enters within the heart as Harikatha, and then he drives away all contaminations due to ignorance. Exactly as the sun drives away the darkness, as a powerful wind drives away a massive clouds, the hearing of krishna-katha eradicates and destroys all of the sufferings of material existence. But Prabhupada said, if you don't think you're suffering, then why you need a solution? This is a problem. I'm fine. I'm reasonably happy. We're so low consciousness, it says if you're not surrendered to Krishna, you're completely bewildered. So if we're not completely surrendered to Krishna, we are completely bewildered. But do we realize that? Do we think that? Or do we think I'm fine? I'm reasonably happy. I'm managing all right. I don't see that I'm bewildered or suffering or anxiety or, okay, little anxiety, but reasonably okay, manageable. But how can it be? If we're not really surrendered to Krishna, we must be getting bombarded by threefold miseries. But why are we not perceiving threefold miseries? Because we're like an animal consciousness. We're like an ass. Beast of burden. That's a problem. Maya will make you think that you're alright, you're happy, reasonably okay, well situated. Anyway, I'm managing. But if we're not really surrendered under the shelter of Guru and Krishna, under their instructions, under their discipline, that means threefold miseries. And we can't even realize it. So Prabhupada said, if your consciousness is so low that you can't even realize you're in complete anxiety, then why will you seek a solution? Sometimes I ask devotee, what do you like better, anxiety or depression? They're like, oh, that's a strange question, you know? No, because you don't want to surrender to Krishna, so it has to be one or the other. Angel, what do you like better? Coke? Or Pepsi? Coke or crack? You have choices, you have independence. You can make choices. You can be angel, or you can be Amara Gauranga. We can be Maya Das or Krishna Das. That's up to us. So if we'll not surrender to Krishna and Guru and their instructions, that means we're just acting like Maya Das. We're being like Om Guru. That means threefold miseries, automatically. Are you feeling threefold miseries, Angel? Does it feel good? A lot of peace, happiness, joy? No? You don't feel joy? Are you happy with those results? Are you happy with your results? Then leave it like that, no problem. If you don't like the results, just like Arjuna, he didn't like the result, then he surrendered to Krishna. But if we're in low consciousness and we cannot even perceive our suffering condition, why will we look for a solution? How eager and greedy will we be for a solution if we don't even realize how much trouble we're in? You see many places in Bhagavatam, the Sadhu Guru Vaishnava, they're explaining what is the material world, what is the reality of material consciousness in the material world, and how forgetting Krishna, what you've had to go through, how much suffering, how much disturbance, how much no peace, no happiness, so much exhaustion, so much material exhaustion, material frustration, material fed up, disgusted. They're reminding us of the reality of how we have lived our life, not just this life, to wake us up to the reality of our suffering condition. Because if we don't realize that, we will not be serious to do what's required to find solution. And this is the problem. That's why Prabhupada said in the Jaladuta prayer, Krishna, these people are in Tamagun and Rajagun, and they're engaging in sense gratification, sinful activities, and they think themselves happy. So how will they possibly accept the solution mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Prabhupada said, if you don't realize you have a problem, you're not going to look for a solution. And then Prabhupada said, you don't need a guru, because you're acting as Om Guru. Do you have any questions or points on any of this topic?
Yes. You surprised me this morning when you talk about your experience in the seminar, at the seminar.
Yeah, that
Yes.
seminar.
Yes.
I remember that point.
Because I'm asking myself, if I have this eager to hear about Krishna, but the speaker is a jnani, that wants or a yogi, as you said this morning. Now, I was asking myself, why you went back at the second part of the seminar. I mean,
Because I understood your point. Because I'm a member of ISKCON. My guru is a member of ISKCON. My Guru Dev, Srila Gogovinda Swami, is disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And my Guru Dev told me that ISKCON is Mahaprabhu's movement. And Prabhupada and my Guru Dev said, under no circumstances should you leave ISKCON. It's not even an option. My Guru Dev said you should hang in ISKCON with leech-like tenacity. And I was thinking, why Guru Dev say like that? Now I know why. But at that time, in 1995, I didn't understand why. What does it mean, leech-like tenacity? So I'm trying to follow the instruction of Prabhupada and Srila Gogovinda Swami to remain faithful and serve their institution. And because my Guru asked me to make my own men, to help the other devotees, that means, ultimately, it means to be Guru, spiritual master in ISKCON. So to do that, then you have to get this official stamp from the seminar to legally, institutionally be allowed to do your service within the institution. So for that sake, I was forced to have to somehow tolerate, to go through that process. So sometimes, for Prabhupada's pleasure and for Gurudev's pleasure, sometimes you have to do things that it's very painful and very disturbing. But it's for a particular reason. Somehow they're concocting that this is the requirement to become a guru. And it's nowhere in Srila Prabhupada's books and teachings. But because they're into seminars and they're into this, classes, and they're trying to make everything academic, and then you have to go through the authorities and the system, and you need all the stamps and all of the plaques and all of the diplomas, even if they spell it improperly, right? The guru is supposed to be perfect, right? Then they're misspelling spiritual. So this is just like a sign, So this is just for the sake of my being able to do my seva. I have to try to tolerate that. But it was very painful because it was not spiritual. And then as sannyasi, then I was secretary, zonal secretary in Bhubaneswar. And I would have to go to so many meetings, and everybody is just so much politics, so much power politics. Prabhupada, he wanted ISKCON to be deep.